How about now? Just silence all the haters, just like that. William Nylander won this game for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I really had to keep calm and believe all night long. What a win for the Toronto Maple Leafs. RIbb, how you doing?
I'm good. What I just saw, that was something else. I mean, you got to give credit where credit's due. David Riddick played his behind off all night to try to steal the Calgary Flames this game. William Nylander literally just came in and ripped out his heart.
He was outstanding. He's an outstanding goaltender. He's really played lights out these past two games, and the Toronto Maple Leafs were shut out almost 2 full games there. That was very scary. But William Nylander was the hero. Late game heroics for the Toronto Maple Leafs, something that we see against us so frequently. William Nylander. He's really starting to silence the critics with these 2 straight goals. What do you think of what we saw from Willie there?
I think it's what we expect. I know everyone's so hard on him, but William Nylander at this point in his career is what he is. He's a player that's inconsistent to the love and hatred of Maple Leafs fans. And when he's hot, he's hot. He's really good. He looks like the best player on the ice. And when he's not feeling so hot, he doesn't exactly seem to show up all the time. And it's times when you watch moments like this that you remember the talent and out of this world skill that William Nylander possesses.
He's a superstar, and we've got him on a bargain deal locked up. And I just want to make something very clear here with this comment. I have never once said that I want to trade William Nylander. Let me just make that clear. I have taken hundreds of offers, and I have almost turned down every one.
Yes, I will. I am definitely more on the trade Nylander bandwagon here than Jake over here. In fact, my fantasy hockey name for this season is Trade Nylander. And I've been quite quick to package him for a big right shot defenseman. So if that's directed towards anyone, that's definitely more me than Jake.
Well, thank you. William Nylander. Let's just show what he did here with the late game heroics. Beautiful goal. William Nylander puts that thing top corner right over the shoulder of David Riddick. You love to see that late game heroics from Willie. And the Toronto Maple Leafs, hopefully this is something that they can rally behind, because offensively they haven't been generating much at all these past few games. Ever since they had that 5-goal game against Montreal on Saturday, they haven't been able to get anything going. These past 2 games against Calgary, they've been shut down.
I think the biggest surprise, though, coming out of this game may not be William Nylander. I think it's got to be the fact that with Frederik Andersen out and Michael Hutchinson in net, the Leafs were able to win a hockey game first, and second, Hutchinson only allowed 1 goal.
Hutchinson has been clutch, and the Maple Leafs have been clutch for Hutch in front of him. Michael Hutchinson, he's put out a couple good performances now. 3 performances this season, 2 wins. You love to see that from your third-string goalie. Think about it. This is a guy who really wasn't expected to get any playing time coming into the season. The Toronto Maple Leafs had Aaron Dell, if you remember. They had Aaron Dell and Jack Campbell. Michael Hutchinson was a distant memory, and he was an afterthought. But Michael Hutchinson's come in here and stole some wins for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He's done what you expect an NHL goalie to do. He allowed 3 goals in each of his other 2 starts, and tonight just 1 goal. Fantastic from Michael Hutchinson.
Yeah, it was players showed up for the Leafs when they needed to. Hutchinson played really well. Nylander came in and had a very spark and a sudden burst of 2 goals that ended up winning the game. And Austin Matthews, I know everyone's on him a bit because, like, what do you mean he didn't score? Nylander should have passed him the puck. You're going to hear it all season long, but Matthews got 2 assists and still contributed a lot to a Maple Leafs win.
Well, speaking of Austin Matthews, how do we feel about Austin Matthews getting in the way of shots, getting physical, and throwing some haymakers on Rasmus Andersson? So Rasmus Andersson and Austin Matthews, towards the end of the game, they got a little scrappy behind the Calgary net. And with the whole block shot thing, it's a part of hockey. You just need to find ways to do it better. I know that it's a very fast game. You're gonna take pucks to different areas. I've taken pucks in the throat when I used to play hockey. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. He got a puck to the skate, and it looks really painful because it is painful. He's gonna have a tough time taking that skate off tonight. But it's hockey. He has to be physical. He's a big body. Use that body. Obviously, you don't want him getting in the way of too many shots, but he's also on the penalty kill at times.
Okay, 2 things. First of all, where the hell is the other team shooting if you're taking him to the throat? Are they going for the rafters or, like, what's the deal
Well,
there?
the guy's shot was wild. I don't understand that either because I'm 6'4", so his shot was pretty high.
And secondly, is it playoff time already? Because Austin Matthews looks like he's ready for a playoff series. And it's the small things that you love to see from your franchise player. He's obviously, and don't get me wrong, he's been on an absolutely torrid pace. He's making Ovechkin's lack of goal scoring look like something else right now compared to Matthews. And he really looks like he's in a class of his own when it comes to putting the puck in the back of the net. But I think I can comfortably speak, and I would think you would tend to agree with me, Jake, that the goal scoring pace he's been on over the last, week, 2 weeks or so, it's hardly sustainable. Yeah, it's hardly sustainable over a full year at that historic pace. And there's going to be games like this where he's not able to get a goal. So seeing that he can still make key contributions, even if he can't get his signature shot off, I mean, you'd like to see it. That's what you need from your franchise player.
I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna say that I won't say that he can score 50 goals. Okay, I'm not gonna go there. I'm gonna say he can score 50. I don't think he will. I think he can score 50 in this shortened 55 game season for him because he missed a game already. But personally, it's really just a matter of it's hard. I think he can sustain what he was doing. He scored 18 goals in his first 18 games of the season. That's very impressive. I think that's something he can sustain because he's that good. But it's really hard to say that he's going to reach 50 goals in 55 games.
I mean, yeah, I think the better thing to see from Austin Matthews at this point, because how many times have we actually seen a player score at a goal per game pace over the course of a season? And I mean, yeah, we've seen it with Lemieux or Gretzky, but those were also back in the days when goals were a lot more plentiful. And if anyone goes back and watches the clip, the goaltending was nowhere as good as it is now.
Yeah, exactly. The goal and the pads were heavier. The goalies were generally smaller. So you'd score more goals. You'd
Yeah,
usually
because
score more
I
goals.
don't know how many 5'8" and 5'9" goaltenders you see anymore with tiny little pads, and it doesn't happen. It's a little bit of a different beast now. But so the biggest thing I'd say, if Austin Matthews can keep scoring over the full season, over a point per game, that's probably what we want. That's obviously we'd love to see 50 goals in the shortened season, but if he can score, what would you say is a good, comfortable point amount for him to finish with, like 75, 80 points?
75, 80 points this year.
Yeah, if you got something like that, what's better, the 50 goals or if you got to 80 points?
I think the points, because the goals are going to come with the points. I think the points would probably be a better achievement. I think that Austin Matthews is going to win the Rocket. I've said that numerous times. And hot take hockey here says he scores 40 goals. He said that at the beginning of the season, and he thinks he finishes between 40 and 50. My prediction prior to this season was 45, And if you haven't already, make sure you check out Hot Take Hockey. You got a lot of new content coming out all the time. Great stuff.
And I'll give credit where credit's due. So far through the season, it's looking like your Rocket pick is a lot better than mine. Because I said it here that I thought Austin Matthews would come top 3, but I thought Nathan McKinnon was going to edge him out. Boy, how that aged at this point.
Yeah, he's missed some time, and I don't really see him going at an Austin Matthews pace this season. Austin Matthews, the 2020 season, the 2021 season is the Austin Matthews revenge tour after he had 50-goal season just ripped out of his hands due to the pandemic last year. This is his revenge tour this year.
Do you think that's part of why people are saying that he looked a bit pissed at Nylander that he didn't pass in overtime?
I did not notice that. And why does it matter? Willie scored the goal. Willie stole the show. Austin Matthews is a team player. After last game, when the point streak ended, he was really about to do a historic thing for the Maple Leafs. He was about to set a record. And he had that point streak ended last game against Calgary Flames. After the game, he was asked about it. He says, honestly, I couldn't care less. He doesn't care about a stupid point streak. He would obviously love to win the Rocket. But this guy, Austin Matthews, just wants to win.
I think that's the biggest thing, and that's what truly separates the great players from the stat sheet stuffers. Because we could be over here saying, oh, Austin Matthews will win 5 Rocket Richard trophies throughout the course of his career. But does any of it really matter if he doesn't lead the Leafs to the Cup or whatever team he ends up ultimately finishing his career with?
It's a fair assessment. Joseph Clark in the comments section here, all in caps. Love to see it. Smash that like button. Hit the notification bell if you're watching this on YouTube. And if you're on Facebook, share this video. Tell a friend to tell a friend. The brand is growing and big things are coming for Maple Leafs media.
And Jake, what is that shirt you're wearing?
Well, this here is it's my motto. Keep calm and believe. And it comes in a plethora of different colors.
A plethora. Well, that's news to me.
Well, this here is the St. Patty's Day edition. St. Patty's Day edition. I've got some normal white ones here. I've got Canada's team. I got a bunch of merch here, all about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And sooner than later, we'll be getting a boost from this guy right here, the Wayne Train. Got a bunch of merch here on Maple Leafs Media.
And if any viewers are interested, where can they go to take a look at that?
Well, the link to the Maple Leafs Media merchandise shop is in the description of this video if you're watching on YouTube. You can check it out after. There's a bunch of new stuff out there. Mugs, there's t-shirts, there's sweatshirts, a bunch of great stuff.
And I'm curious too, because obviously we've got some very engaged fans here. So will you be taking requests for different slogans for shirts throughout the season?
I think I will.
So if anyone's got any good ideas, leave it in the comments. And who knows, maybe you'll come up with Jake's next creation.
Yeah, my girlfriend's a graphic designer, and she loves making these amazing designs. So it'd be great if you have any recommendations of shirt designs that I should make. Just let me know. Inbox me, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, wherever. You can reach out wherever. And I also left the link to every one of our social media platforms in the description of this video on YouTube.
Okay, so enough of the shameless plug now. Let's get back to the show.
Yes, let's do that. That was a little bit of a advertisement, I guess. So apparently RIbb picked Ryan Reeves for the Rocket.
No, but funny enough, someone in our fantasy league did draft Ryan Reeves. You know who you are. It was a questionable pick. Didn't age well.
Do you guys truly believe that we will see Austin Matthews drop the mitts this year? Because you think so.
Who would you see Austin Matthews fighting in this hypothetical situation? Like, pick one player. I know this is just a big game at that point, but who's the one player you think would rattle him enough that he would fight?
In the Canadian division?
Yes.
That's a tough one. I can't really see him dropping the mitts, to be honest. Like, I don't think he's gonna drop the mitts. Crosby's done it a couple times. I don't want him to drop the mitts. He's got a wrist injury history. Don't do it.
There's got to be one guy though. Who's the one guy on the Canadian division you can see him? There's got to be someone.
I can't think of anyone. I can't think of anyone that he'd drop the mitts with. Maybe, I guess, Anderson after tonight. Who do you think? Who's your pick?
Well, I've got two.
Who's that?
There is Matthew Tkachuk, who I think could frustrate him to a certain degree. And obviously, there's another skilled player too, so it's not like it's a big goon taking a run out of him. And then you've got a more flyer pick here. What about someone like a Philip Deneau or Brandon Gallagher, someone on the Montreal Canadiens that just chips away at him all game, then finally it just boils over?
It could happen. I don't necessarily see it happening though. Jack Trout says Austin is playing like a pro. Love his effort and desire. 100%. Look at what he's been doing this season. He's been outstanding, and it's really hard to find words to describe what he's been doing. It's really outstanding.
I mean, I think I can summarize it pretty well into the small snippet. Better than any Leafs player in the last 20 years.
Yep, definitely. I agree with that. Apparently, Austin Matthews has a tattoo on his wrist in blue and white. So for all the speculation about Austin Matthews leaving when his contract's up, it's in blue and white. So just relax.
Which are also the colors of the Tampa Bay Lightning, interesting enough.
Oh, shut up. We got some rumors coming. We'll talk more about this game. We got a rumor here. If the rumors are true about Philip Forsberg, Dubas better find a way to make it happen. And if you haven't already, make sure you check out my last video. I did a whole video on why the Toronto Maple Leafs should trade for Philip Forsberg and what I think would be a fair deal.
Where do you think Forsberg would slot in comfortably? Like, do you think he'd rotate through the lines, kind of best fit, or do you think there'd be one line that he'd solidly fit on?
I don't want to separate that first line with Jumbo Joe, Mitch Marner, and Austin Matthews. That chemistry's too good. I'm putting him on that second line. You all want to see a spark from William Nylander and John Tavares? You want to see more consistent production from those two? Put Philip Forsberg on there. This guy's 14th in 5-on-5 takeaways per minute since entering the league.
That'd definitely be interesting too, because I feel like he's an underrated defensive player as well.
Absolutely.
And it would definitely help JT, I think, to have the more responsibility, the better. Because obviously, as a center, you're playing a key, critical defensive role, especially in the defensive zone, way more than wingers ever do. So having a winger that could assist more on the defensive side would definitely help ease some of his load. And I don't think that's either where William Nylander excels as much. So it would definitely benefit him as well to take some pressure off it.
Well, JB here says get Forsberg without trading Nylander, and I definitely think that's possible. My whole trade offer was in my previous video on this channel, so be sure to check it out if you're interested.
And I think it's interesting. I wasn't quite sure I was going to see this in the comments, but we have a commenter here, Joseph Clark, who doesn't want Forsberg.
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. This is a guy who he led the Nashville Predators in points the year that they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like I said, 14th in the takeaways category per minute since entering the league. That's very impressive. And he's a goal scorer, he's speedy, great skater, and he can play two ways.
Okay, I've got one hypothetical before we get off this.
Yep.
If you could take one player from the Nashville Predators, and I'm going to give you two players, Philip Forsberg included, which one of these two do you think would be a better fit and like overall help the team more longer term? You got Dante Fabro or Philip Forsberg. One's a right shot defenseman, would solve all the Leafs' defensive issues going forward, or another winger.
Philip Forsberg. Philip Forsberg. I'm taking the winger because I want to win right now. And for just one, it seems like it's still an issue. But right now, I think our defense, it's good enough to get through the playoffs. I really think it's good enough to get through the playoffs right now, as is. It could always use improvements, but the way our forward group has been playing, it's been outstanding. And really putting William Nylander, or rather Philip Forsberg, on that forward group with William Nylander and John Tavares, that is a second line that would push this team over the top.
I'm a bit concerned personally. I'm just not sure. Like, I think the defense stacks up well, but do you really think the defense is solid enough to go all the way through the playoffs? Like, I'm not just talking one round in the Canadian division. I'm talking all the big boys, whoever comes from out west, and
If
then
we
one of Tampa Bay, Boston, or Philadelphia, depending on who gets out of that.
if we don't get a guy like Philip Forsberg in our forward group, then no. It's really if it's depending on if we can add to the forward group. If we can add another solid forward to the top 6, my answer is yes. Our defense is good enough to make it that far this year.
Okay, you heard it here first. Jake is very confident in the Maple Leafs defense.
I am.
So, all of you commenters that love to spread discussion in the comments, whether it be positive or negative, if our defense has a crappy game, you know exactly who to go after.
It's all right. It happens. It happens. I've seen a lot of porous defense from this Maple Leafs team in years past, and it's much improved. It's much improved. We could still use a top 2 guy to put with Morgan Riley. I'm not going to deny that, but it's been much improved, and I think it's good enough to get through the playoffs.
And big shout out to Nate here in the comments with the tip for the Leaf mug. We love to see it. All the feedback is definitely what we want. Obviously, anything on the store is made for you guys by the brand. So any feedback you have that you would like to see or that you think could improve it is more than welcome. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. So let's continue talking about tonight's game. But first, I saw a comment here. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where did it go?
Which one are you looking for?
It said something about Nylander. There it is. There it is. Just, we'll be back in 8 seconds.
Well, you know what my response to that is?
What's that?
I would like to thank John for giving my fantasy team a shout out in the show. Thank you for promoting the trade Nylander brand. But as far as actually trading William Nylander, what are we getting back? Like, it needs to be a pretty substantial return. We obviously saw what he's capable of in spurts. Yeah, he's not the most consistent player. But you're telling me someone like a William Nylander can't take over a playoff series if they get hot?
Exactly. Exactly. And outside of this market, I've said this numerous times, outside of this Toronto market, his trade value isn't the same as what the Toronto Maple Leafs value him as a player.
Because do you think Nylander could legitimately return you a top 2 defenseman? It's probably not. It's got to be top 4. And I don't think top 4 is where you pull the trigger. It's got to be top 2, which I don't think you can get.
His ceiling's very high. He's still a young player. He's still got another 4 years left on his contract after the season. There is no reason to trade William Nylander for a top 4 defenseman or anybody right now. William Nylander, you saw what he did tonight. He can play in the big moments. We just need to see him do it more consistently throughout the season and later in the playoffs. I'm not going to say that maybe some of the criticism was deserved. Early in the season, he's looked a bit slow at times, but he's a very good skater. You can say that he looks lazy, but that's not true. You see this guy's workouts in the offseason, they're insane. He is a hardworking player. You don't just make it to the NHL if you're not. William Nylander is a special talent.
And I really like the comment from William Bennett here about after Nylander got benched, how he was able to play.
Yeah.
And I think that's testament to what you're talking about, hard work. You can obviously see a benching be received one of 2 ways. It either lights a fire under the player's butt and they come out with more motivation to prove something, or they pull a Pierre-Luc Dubois across the trade.
Well, this exact same thing happened last year with William Nylander. Sheldon Keefe benched Nylander. Nylander came out the next game, scored a goal. That's what William Nylander does. Maybe you need to be a little hard on him sometimes, get under his skin, bench him. I don't know. Maybe that's what gets through to his head. But
I
if
mean,
it works, it works.
because you got to take different approaches for different players. I'm sure in your hockey playing days, and I know I did as well, certain teammates need that tough love. And maybe William Nylander's that guy. Maybe he gets too caught up in the motions sometimes, and sometimes he just needs to be pulled aside and be like, look, you got to step up. And that's what gets through to him. And if that's what works, and they know that's what works, then I'm not all for benching Nylander over and over and over. But if he's having a poor few games, maybe that's something you take a look at.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Salvatore says, or your line A, if you're benched in your line A. I mean, I would take William Nylander over Patrick Laine right now.
Excuse me?
You heard me.
Excuse me.
Contract and all considered.
Okay, that changes it. But I thought you were just going on face value in hockey.
No, contract considered. I'll take William Nylander over Patrick Laine.
Same contract, still like if they were on matching contracts, so you could make it match up and length is even. Still
Probably not.
Nylander over? Okay.
Probably not. What did I scare you or something?
I mean, I was starting to think you're as bad as some of the Leaf fans that value Nylander more than anyone else in the. Like, don't get me wrong, William Nylander's a wonderful player, but Patrick Laine has kind of been caught up in the shuffle, and everyone forgets how special a goal scorer he is.
Yeah, I know he's a special goal scorer. He's a good talent, but his contract situation's scary.
Do you think he actually stays in Columbus? Just a little off topic here.
No. The second he got traded there, I'm like, that's not going to work. It might work, maybe, but I don't think so.
I mean, he's playing really well there, but I feel like one of Torts or him has to go. And I mean, Torts has made it through a few players now. I'm not sure he can't outlive Laine.
Yeah, I think he's pretty safe there in Columbus. He's safe there. We have a slogan from the Spikester: the Zach attack for Zach Hyman. Could be Zach Bogosian, but it's Zach Hyman. I know who he's referring to. The Zach attack. Jason says, big save Dave stops some really high dangerous scoring chances tonight. David Riddick. You want to give us your analysis on David Riddick these past 2 games? He's been outstanding.
I mean, having followed the Flames for a while now and seen David Riddick both in a backup and starter role, it's really hard to say going forward what you necessarily do if you're Calgary. Because obviously Jacob Markstrom is the better goalie consistently. And he is being paid quite a hefty contract that they chose to bring him in from Vancouver to really shore up the goaltending issues they've had in the past years. But my David Riddick he's so streaky. Like when he's on his game, he looks like he could be a top 10 goalie in the NHL. And when he's off his game, he looks like he could barely stop a beach ball. And it's the type of goalie that makes you want to pull all your hair out. Because as I'm sure Leaf fans can relate with Frederik Andersen and some of his performances at times, the worst thing I feel like as a goalie sometimes is inconsistency. It's almost better to be slightly worse, but to know what you're getting on a night in, night out basis.
That's fair. Do you think that there's a goalie controversy in Calgary right now?
I don't think there is at the exact moment because it's only been 2 games, but I think there could be something brewing there.
Yeah. I mean, Jacob Markstrom, I think that the Calgary Flames may have overpaid for him. I know that he was one of the best goalies on the market last offseason, but I think that that contract may have been an overpaid contract. And David Riddick in the last 2 games has made 73 saves on 75 shots. That's outstanding. It's not quite I'll agree with you, it's not quite there yet to the point where it's a goalie controversy. But if Riddick keeps performing the way he is, I think that it definitely could be.
Is there the only problem, and I hate to base things based on contracts, because I think especially with goalies, you want the best goalie to play and kind of ride the hot hand no matter what. And that's a recipe for team success. We've seen it in Florida. Drieger has absolutely stole Bobrovsky's starting spot, at least for the time being. And he's played quite well. Even in a loss tonight, he still played decently well. and you want to ride the hot hand. And I think any Leafs fan would tell you that if they had two fully capable goalies that were capable of being at the same level as Frederik Andersen is, you'd probably want to ride an A and a B situation
You
and
know
ride
the
the hot
Jack
hand.
Campbell comments are about to come in.
Yeah, I know the Jack Campbell comments are about to come in because everyone in our comment section loves Jack Campbell.
Yeah, and I mean, I like him too. He's got a good attitude and stuff, but he's never been a starter in the NHL.
But the thing is, when you pay someone such a big contract as Markstrom has, where could you even move him? Like, the money of the contract doesn't scare me, the term of the contract would scare me. And if I'm any other team, I'm definitely thinking about that.
For Markstrom,
Yeah,
it's 6 years, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what is
Like
he? How old is he?
30 or 31, I believe. He's going to age with it for sure.
Yeah, he's a bit of a late bloomer.
And, like, it'll look great for the first 2 or 3 years. I'm not sure about the last 3, though.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
And more on a Maple Leafs note, too, because with Freddie upcoming and being a free agent, are you worried about that? Are you worried the Leafs pay too much or pay too long for Freddie?
My thought process coming into the season is that the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't going to be able to re-sign Frederik Andersen. That was my thought process at the beginning of the year. I'm really not sure how this is going to play out. Frederik Andersen's over 30 years old, and obviously on the wrong side of 30. His performance has kind of seen a bit of a decline. I don't know. He's been he's been the rock for this Maple Leafs team, but he's going to want a hefty price tag. He's going to want a big salary, and the Toronto Maple Leafs just might not be able to afford him.
And right here, right now, I'm giving you the opportunity to make a thesis. And if you're right, you can go back to this clip and show everyone I told you so. And if you're wrong, it'll be really funny to look back at. Do you think a calendar year later, when we are sitting here, is Jack Campbell the start of the Toronto Maple Leafs?
He very well could be. He very well could be. But I
What's more
don't.
likely, Frederik Andersen still in the net or Jack Campbell the starter? Pick
I,
between the two.
I'll say Jack Campbell the starter. I'll say Jack Campbell more likely to be the starter. What do you think?
I think it comes down to the playoffs at the end of the day. If Frederik Andersen shows up at the playoffs and this team goes far, Leafs Nation will be crying for Dubas's head if he doesn't resign him.
Yeah.
But if he plays bad in the playoffs, I think he's good as gone.
Well, his performance is really going to dictate how much money he rakes in too, and the better he plays, the less likelihood it is that the Maple Leafs re-sign him.
Yeah, pretty much, because there's other teams out there that need goalies, and Frederik Andersen has more than proven he's a capable NHL goaltender. So there's nothing to say if he doesn't prove that he can play well in the playoffs, that someone just turns around with a boatload of money like Calgary did with Markstrom the year previous and pays to lure him out.
There's some alright goalies in the free agency market, but I wouldn't necessarily compare them to Frederik Andersen. Like Tuukka Rask, it's comparable. Tuukka Rask comparable. Ryan Miller and Devin
Okay,
Dubnyk.
Ryan Miller in the same.
Yeah, I know.
You're picking the
I
old
just said
guys.
not
Like,
comparable.
Frederik Andersen isn't quite that old yet, bud.
No, I know. I just said not comparable. Devin Dubnyk, like the goalie market isn't. I'm not really a big fan of this upcoming free agency market for the goalie position. So I would obviously like to have Frederik Andersen back, but I really don't see how it's going to work out.
I really like the point from Jake Ozzie here that I personally don't see Freddie returning, but the Leafs should go after one of the
Uh,
youngest goalies. They're
uh,
both off contract at the end of the year. But I'm not going Corpy. I'm
I agree.
crazy. I'm crazy for Elvis.
Yep.
I like Elvis Merlikins. He's obviously got a bit of an injury bug, so you might want it to be more of a 1A, 1B with like a Jack Campbell say. But when he plays, what did he have for shutouts last year? Like, it was some absurd number, and Leaf fans can talk about it from witnessing in the playoffs. The man, when he's hot, is something else.
I'll let you know what the exact number on shutouts is right now. It was crazy. He's a big boy in the net. He covers up a lot of space. He's just 26 years old. Uh, last season he had 5 shutouts in 31 starts.
And dare I ask, what were his stats in the playoffs?
Don't go there. I don't have those readily available, but against Toronto, they were rather good. They were really good.
And who knows? We're obviously just speculating now, but I could definitely see Elvis being a possibility.
Salvatore says Elvis. John Howard goes with Corpusalo. I like Elvis. William Bennett says Elvis will go to Vegas so we can make memes. No, I'd like one of those goalies. I'd like Elvis Merzlikins too. I'm with you. I think he's got more potential. He covers more than net. He's a big body. I love everything that he brings to the game. I hated playing against him last year in the qualifying round. He was a nightmare.
And again, there's big game goalies, and there's not so big game goalies. And I think so far in his career, Merzlikins has proven that he definitely doesn't shy away from the pressure. I'm not sure if we can quite say excels, because I'm not sure we've seen enough of a sample size, but he definitely doesn't shy away from that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he got 2 games played in the playoffs last year. The game started 1 win, 1 loss. It's all right, but he looked special against the Toronto Maple Leafs specifically. He can do damage in our building, and maybe we'd like bringing him onto our team in the offseason. This is a bunch of speculation. Let's talk about the goaltender we saw playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, because I think that we need to send an apology card to Michael Hutchinson. There's been just nonstop criticism of him all off season, ever since last year. Really, it started last year, and it wasn't pretty for him last year, but neither was the team in front of him. That team last year was so inconsistent, and the defense was a mess.
It's interesting because the thought just crossed my mind, and I hadn't gone there before, but it's an interesting thought. Do you think it's important if Jack Campbell comes back at full health to have all 3 goalies, or do you think there's a possibility in which the Leafs could trade high on Michael Hutchinson if he plays well?
Don't trade him. Don't do it. No. We already lost Aaron Dell. Do not trade Michael Hutchinson, because if the injury bug hits again, we've already seen a goalie go down for the Toronto Maple Leafs. 2 goalies go down for the Toronto Maple Leafs, actually. This is the 3rd guy. Goalies get injured pretty quickly. It seems to be a recurring theme. Goalies get injured. So do not get rid of Michael Hutchinson. You keep Hutch.
Okay, I wanted to see a reaction on that. I definitely could see the panic in your eyes as you're
Don't trade
envisioning.
Hutch. Don't do it. No. You want a goalie, like, if you traded Hutch, you have Frederik Andersen and Jack Campbell. Say they both go down with injuries. You have a goalie who's never played in the NHL after that. That's more terrifying to me than having Michael Hutchinson come in.
Okay, then here's an even more interesting take. If we're saying we want to hold Hutchinson for the full season, could he take Jack Campbell's backup job?
No, I don't think he's. I don't think he's going to take that number 2 spot. I think Jack Campbell, he'll come back into this team and he'll play his role. He's younger, and he's got more room for growth. I don't think Sheldon Keefe and the Toronto Maple Leafs want to kill his development.
Interesting. What's William Bennett saying here? If you don't think we will re-sign Anderson and he sucks in the playoffs, why not trade him away, buy low, sell high? We got him for a low price, now sell him high. Do
I'm
you
not
have
going to say
any confidence in our goaltending tandem without Frederik Andersen?
not much. If I'm being honest, not much. When it comes to the playoffs after the Canadian division, not much. To get through the North Division, maybe. It's possible. But after that, when you're playing Colorado, Boston, Tampa Bay, not a chance in hell. No. I'm not content with that. Are you?
You know what would actually be interesting, although I'm not sure they would ever do it? What if you flipped Anderson for his old battery mate, John Gibson?
Say that again?
You flipped Anderson back to Anaheim for John Gibson.
I love John Gibson, but what you'd have to add some other assets there.
Because I could see Gibson. I'm not sure how that would work out salary wise and everything, but I really like the thought of John Gibson on this team.
I love John Gibson. He's a great goaltender. He is a great goaltender, special.
And frankly, look at what he's doing behind a crappy Anaheim team with not much help.
Yeah, he's a special goalie. He gets a lot of shutouts, but the thing that I have him on one of my fantasy teams, and the Ducks, I'm really starting to resent that organization for what they're doing to my fantasy team this year. Because Gibson is special, but the team in front of him is doo-doo.
And there's been a few interesting. I know we're going off track a bit, but there's been an interesting rumor I've heard a bit of, which would terrify me if I was a Leaf fan. John Gibson to Pittsburgh. Because I think solving their goaltending issue would add a whole nother beast coming out of the East if you shored up their goaltending in Pittsburgh.
I mean, yeah, but I don't really believe in the core around or the players outside of the core in Pittsburgh. Obviously, they have a great core, solid foundation with Crosby, Malkin, Gensel, Rust, Stiven, Letang. They've got a lot of notable names on their team, but I don't believe in the players that are surrounding them. And John Gibson, he's a great goalie. He can steal games, but I still that wouldn't terrify me too much.
Okay, so what else is on your mind tonight, Jake? Let's go back in a Leafs focused direction.
This right here, this is very concerning to me. The Toronto Maple Leafs power play is one of the best in the NHL. And the past two games, they've just been doing nothing. They have not contributed to our success at all in the power play. We tried some new things tonight. We saw Jimmy Vesey out on the power play early in the first period.
I bet you
Didn't
love
work out.
that.
Didn't really work out. Nothing has been working on this power play unit. And this is against a middle of the pack power play unit as well, or a penalty kill unit. Calgary Flames, coming into this game tonight, they were just the 15th ranked penalty kill unit in the NHL. So middle of the pack. They're an all-right penalty kill unit. But the Maple Leafs are supposed to be a top-tier power play unit, and they have been all year. 0 for 11 over the past two games is concerning to me.
I'm curious because what was their percentage going in? Wasn't it something like 40% previous to this?
Close to it.
So, do you think this is more of kind of the laws of averages coming down? Because there's very few teams that can sustain that over a full calendar year, even the best playoffs, not best playoffs, best power plays. Or do you think something needs to be blown up and they're really just struggling?
Uh, it could be that we ran into obviously a really hot goaltender in David Riddick. That's one thing. But I'm seeing too much passing. Too much passing. I know that you have to create space on a power play. It's important to pass the puck around. I'm not seeing enough shot attempts. I'm not seeing a good job of screening the goaltender. There's a lot of things that's going wrong for this power play unit. Zone entries have been awful on the power play, and really a lot of the power play, half the power play is usually spent in retrieving the puck from our defensive zone.
I'm You know what that actually reminds me of when you talk about too much passing on the power play?
What's that?
The old days with Thomas Caberlet and Brian McCabe. And the power play that always seemed to just pass, 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 pass. And that's definitely not something we want to go back to.
Thomas Caberlet and Brian McCabe. I used to be a big fans of those two. I love those guys. I love those guys growing up. Those were like my childhood like pillars on the defense. Those are the two that I grew up watching.
And I'm curious, what do you guys in the comment section think? Do you think there's anything you would do specifically different to fix the Leafs power play?
You know who? You know what I think would be a good idea? Interesting idea, actually. Uh, I think that Alex Kerfoot has a good chemistry with Austin Matthews. That might surprise you to hear that, but put him on a line with maybe try him on the on the power play unit a bit. Give him some opportunities.
I hate to say it, but I'm thinking there might be a trend here, not with the power play being a problem, but I think there's one player on this Maple Leafs team that really separates their power play from being like a top end power play, but nothing to like write home historic about,
Is he
and
injured
being
right now?
a historic power play. And yes, he's injured right now.
Is it? Hold on. Is it by any chance this guy right here?
It's not quite who I was going with, but that could fit
Okay.
too.
Okay.
But
Who
there's
is
one
it?
other guy that's been a very elite player for a very long time.
Okay. I know who it is. Spill the beans.
Jumbo, our boy Jumbo Joe. I think a lot of times what he brings to the power play gets overlooked because he's not the Austin Matthews with a wicked shot. But have you seen how he's able to both fill the slot and also just feed these amazing passes to the finishers and the Leafs? And obviously, he's got out of this world hockey IQ, and he's got quite a bit of experience on the power play from his days back in Boston and San Jose too. So he's not exactly a spring chicken learning the power play.
Yeah. I mean, he's amazing. He has been amazing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Just what he can do, the way he dishes the puck, the tape to tape passes, it's outstanding. He sets up so many great plays, and his chemistry with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, it's amazing. He can clear out front of the net, but I love his work behind the net. He's doing amazing things behind the net, just dishing out passes all over the ice.
And I tend to agree with, I think it was old school here that mentioned that the power play was fine. I think it's just a matter of Jumbo coming back. I think the Leafs power play is good without him, but with him, they could potentially be historic. But if you take him out of that equation, it's just a top end power play, but it's not this historic thing we've been witnessing.
I agree. I agree. Jake Ozzie, does Jimmy Vesey see out this year with the Toronto Maple Leafs, or is he traded beforehand? I think you'd have a really hard time finding a trade suitor for Jimmy Vesey right now.
What would you even get back? Like a sixth or seventh?
I don't know. I had high praise for this guy coming into the season, but he's been struggling, and it's been reflective on the score sheet, on the stat sheet, everywhere. You don't really see Jimmy Vesey's name much. He's been pretty invisible as of late. They tried putting him on the power play unit to give him a spark, but it just hasn't been working for him.
Well, I bet you're glad right about now you went against your better judgment and didn't draft Jimmy Vesey in our fantasy draft.
I thought about taking him for the final pick when I heard he was playing on a line with John Tavares and William Nylander. But
But I don't know what to think about Jimmy Vesey because obviously I wasn't nearly as high on him at the beginning of the year as you and some of our commenters were, talking all about 17 to 20 goals on the year from Jimmy Vesey and being a staple on that second line. But he does bring something into this team. He
yep,
obviously can fill a bottom six role. And it's an adjustment period. He wasn't brought in to be a superstar. I think people got too caught up in the first few games and started to think of Jimmy Vesey as a legitimate offensive threat.
well, he did have a good thing going with Nylander and Tavares at the beginning of the season. Injuries really plagued that and prevented him from continuing on that second line. And ever since he was moved from that second line, his contributions gone way down. It's unfortunate. Hopefully, we can see him bounce back, though.
I'm with Jack Trout here. That VC does look good, so it's very perplexing. Like on an eye test, it's not like VC looks bad out there. It's not like you're
He does.
constantly being like, "What the hell is Jimmy VC doing?" Like he still does seem to fit in with this team, at least in a supporting role. So I don't know where to go with this because we got people here saying to trade him for a bag of pucks, but I do think he still has some value to the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I agree. I agree that he does, but I feel like he's going to be competing for ice time with guys like Pierre Engvall and Alex Galchenyuk when our team is fully healthy. He does look good though. He looks good, but I think he might be overworking himself or something because you see him fall on the ice plenty. He's falling all over the ice. I notice it at least once or twice a game. It happens, but he's falling all the time. I think he's just like cutting his edges too hard, and he's overthinking things a bit. I think
You know what it was, Jake? You put too much praise on him at the beginning of the year, and the weight of that is just dragging him down on the ice. He can't keep on his feet.
might be.
No, in all seriousness, though, I think having more supporting players that are fighting for ice time is an overall good thing for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because obviously we don't want our fourth liners to ever be content and satisfied. And if they're always looking over their shoulder and feeling like there's someone else coming for their spot, you best believe they're going to be motivated all season.
Absolutely. How about this guy, Alex Galchenyuk? Old school wants to see him play. I'm hoping to see him play as well pretty soon.
You know what I
But
would love? You know what I'd love to see, just on a side note?
what's up?
Wouldn't it be sweet if Alex Galchenyuk was able to have like let's say a hat trick or like a 3-point night against his old team, the Montreal Canadiens, and help
Or the
Toronto
Ottawa
win?
Senators? How about the
Yeah,
Ottawa
like
Senators?
that would just be that'd be one of those cool stories, like when Bobby Ryan came back and fought back and had great games and was able to turn his career on. That would be something else, and I would love to see that as part of the Canadian division. Heck, in a playoff series, it'd be even more.
Yeah, Galchenyuk, he scored 30 goals back in 2015, but ever since then, he's been on the move. He's been on the move. He's been on 7 different teams since being drafted in 2012, and he's just had a really difficult time getting comfortable since being moved from Montreal.
I know we don't want to break up a good thing, but am I crazy here for thinking if there's any two players on the Leafs that can unlock Alex Galchenyuk's offense again, it's Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews?
I was gonna say, don't say it. As I was thinking more along the lines of John Tavares and William Nylander. That could spark that line some more, add some more goal scoring ability. Like I said, he scored 30 goals in a season back in 2015. We haven't seen the same goal scoring ability since then, but I think he still has some goal scoring ability left in the tank. And what better players to help unlock that than John Tavares and William Nylander? I know you're going to say Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews, but I really think that he slots into that second line nicely. You don't want to ruin a good thing with Jumbo Joe on that first line.
It was a crazy thought. And I definitely think between Jumbo Joe and Zach Hyman, you have two players that can both slot into that first line quite well. And you probably don't want to be tinkering with that all season.
Absolutely.
So, especially for Alex Galchenyuk, who you basically got for a bag of pucks. Not to be mean to the guys we traded for him, but it wasn't exactly impactful NHL players.
Yeah. Igor Korshkov and David Warsofsky. Warsofsky hasn't played in the NHL since 2018, and he's played 55 games. And then Korshkov played one NHL game last year, and he scored in it against the Buffalo Sabres. So I guess he had an impact in his one game, but I'll take Alex Galchenyuk over either of those guys.
And I love the comment here. Marner could make it possible for me to score on the NHL. That's very high praise on Mitch Marner's playmaking ability. And I'm sure if you stood in front of the net and just looked for tap-ins all day, Mitch Marner would find you.
Oh, I was gonna say just park it in front of the net and he'd shoot it and it'd hit you and go in. That's like anything. The impossible will happen with Mitch Marner and Austin Matthews. Elite playmaking ability with Mitch Marner, and I mean, you can set up Austin Matthews really easy.
Heck, I'm convinced with this big body over here, Mitch Marner could get Jake to even score 2 or 3 NHL goals if he really had a full season.
Hey, if I was playing for the Leafs and I was a bit of a better skater, I'd be a James Van Riemsdyk type of player. That's the type of player I'd be. Park it in front of the net and just bury 30 goals in a season. That'd be me.
You know what I'm thinking though, because I saw this comment earlier, and I'm not sure who it was, but I thought it was really cool at the time, but I didn't get a chance to mention it. He thinks Ilya Mikheyev, Soup, as he's better referred to around here, is a combination of Connor McDavid's skating with Alex Chason hands.
Okay, repeat that. Ilya Mikheyev is Connor McDavid skating with Alex Chase on hands.
Yes. And I laughed at that when I saw that. That's pretty funny.
I mean, Mikheyev is a great skater. He gets a lot of penalty kill breakaways, and that's the thing that kind of ticks people off because he doesn't bury them when it's shorthanded. But I'm quite frankly, I'm pretty thankful to just have those penalty kill opportunities generated.
And I do think his skating, he's definitely one of the top skaters in the Maple Leafs. I'm not sure if we'd go Connor McDavid level, because that's obviously just a whole different tier by itself. But again, know your role. And Soup knows his role.
Yeah, he does. He plays it perfectly. Penalty kill. He's an outstanding penalty killer. He is just he's been blocking shots. He clears the puck excellent, and he gets a lot of breakaway opportunities shorthanded. One of these times, mark my words, one of these times he's gonna score on those breakaways.
And frankly, I know it's corny as hell, but if we're going to compare Mikheyev's hands to any inanimate object, it's chunky soup cans.
Oh yes, I don't have them here, but my TikToks have been doing a lot of chunky soup stuff. Interesting. That's Ilya Mikheyev's thing. That's interesting you mentioned that soup. Uh, but yeah, I've been kind of doing some chunky soup stuff here myself on TikTok. All about soup. Old school says soup is a great skater, but can't finish. I mean, he has what 2 goals? He might have 3, but I think he has 2 goals this season. He he struggled. He
Wait,
struggled to get on
wait,
the score sheet. What's
wait.
that?
Is
Yep.
this true? Did I miss this? Did it just fly over my head? Rusty Nails is saying Claude Julien was fired today.
Yeah, he was. Because the Canadians have been on a downfall recently.
That's
He
insane. He had them playing so well at the beginning
he
of the season.
didn't. He got fired. Yeah, and so did the assistant coach.
That's crazy.
Oh, Claude Julien got fired today. Yeah, that's what's going on in
Who's their
Montreal.
coach now then?
Oh, I forget what his name is. I can't remember who the new coach is, but he yeah, he got fired today. So
Is that a
that's
good
interesting.
thing for the Leafs or a bad thing?
I don't know. Maybe the Montreal Canadiens didn't like playing under Claude Julien. I don't know what it is. Like they went on. They were just had a couple games with duds recently.
Jeez, that's and we thought the Habs were a second solid team in this Canadian division. I'm not saying they aren't, but
Well, they're fourth in the
that's
division now.
that's definitely not the move of a solid, not panic team.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole press conference today. Mark Bergevin was talking about it. He's like, I just feel that this was best for the team right
And
now.
and is this like this is the strictly coaching decision, right? There was no other situation at play that caused this, like no bad scenario, or you know where I'm going with that.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a stat here. I'm gonna give you a stat. So the okay, they lost 2 straight games to the Ottawa Senators in Montreal,
Yeah, I remember that. I saw the Brady at the chuck put amazing for
and out of the last 9 games, they've won 2.
well, I think that might well, I don't want to overreact here at this point, but maybe it's Winnipeg.
Yeah,
Because
we gotta.
Winnipeg's been looking quite well. And I know everyone's so high on Edmonton over here with Connor McDavid, but geez, Winnipeg scares me. And if you watched the first game with a healthy Pierre-Luc Dubois back in that first line with Wheeler and Shankly, they've got something there.
Well, we see them 9 more times this year, so those will be some fun games to see. We only seen them 1 time, and that was without Pierre-Luc Dubois and without Patrick Laine. It's gonna be fun to see that Winnipeg Jets team 9 more times. Highly
Okay,
contested games, I expect.
is that Is that true? Because people are now saying, like, we got Jason Brooks over here and Frank Rusty Nels saying that there's rumors that players asked for Julian to be fired.
Yes, there has been rumors of that. That's what they were saying today. Like, there's rumors of that. I don't know how much validity there is to that, but it's definitely possible.
Geez, Montreal's more of a mess than I realized.
They've got they've got a really good foundation there. It's just the management and the coaching staff, I guess. Like, they've got a good team.
Like, if you had told me a week ago, coach is getting fired this week, who's it going to be? John Tortorella, hands down, not even a question in my mind. So the fact that it's Claude Julien and not Torts amazes me.
Yeah. I mean, with what's going on in Columbus right now, yeah, it's a mess down there. But Claude Julien fired today. Interesting. William Bennett has new predictions for the North Division. He says Leafs 1, Oilers 2, Flames 3, Jets 4, Habs 5, Ottawa 6th, and Vancouver 7th. I don't think Vancouver's going to finish last. And honestly, even with this, I still think the Habs will make the Final Four.
Maybe I'm just not as high on the Oilers as everyone else is.
No,
Because I still think Winnipeg and Calgary are better. Yeah, Calgary struggled a bit and Winnipeg struggled at times, but we've now seen, well, the Calgary team specifically, play 4 really close games against the Toronto Maple Leafs. There hasn't been a single game there that's been a blowout.
yeah,
And they've got 2 capable goaltenders. And yeah, a few players on their team have been a bit snake bitten, but I still think they're in a playoff spot there. Winnipeg, I've been on the Winnipeg bandwagon from day one. So that's never wavered.
let's go
And
back to. Okay, hold on. Continue.
and Edmonton, what is their goaltending? That's still what terrifies me.
That's what I was going to touch on. And you can go back and look at his track record, whatever. Mike Smith, he's looked legit through the first 6 games. 6-0 so far since coming in. Koskinen has even stepped it up since Mike Smith came in and played his first game for the Oilers this year.
It's very hard for me to believe though, because I watched Mike Smith for a few years in Calgary. And let me just tell you, I was one of the biggest Mike Smith fans. I absolutely love the guy. But he is one of the streakiest goalies you will ever, like, he makes David Riddle look consistent.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen him. Go back and watch the Colorado series that Calgary got absolutely outplayed. Mike Smith may have been the best player on any team in that whole playoff series, not just that playoff series, the playoffs for one round. He is the only reason that Calgary wasn't getting absolutely played out of their barn 7-0 every night. They showed up so flat to that series, and Mike Smith was like the second coming of Patrick Waugh. But then I've seen stats now when it was his first season in Edmonton, previous to that. He had a month where he had like a 2 goals against average, and then the next month he had a 4 goals against average. Like, he is the definition of goalies that terrify you in a playoff series because he can get so ultra hot. But he's so inconsistent. You can't ride him for a full season, and I don't trust Koskinen to
No.
be that suitable. Like, it's not like, oh, we could just play Mike Smith for 15 games and he's on fire, and then as soon as he starts to do bad, we've got Koskinen, he'll be fine. It's like, oh, Mike Smith's starting to be bad? Well, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, I mean, the goaltending situation there is, I'll say that it's tricky and it could turn into a mess at any minute.
And
But
again,
the thing that this right here, you can never count them out as long as they have McDavid and Draisaitl on their team, and that's true. But I will never consider this team a legitimate front runner to make it to the Stanley Cup or out of the North Division even, for as long as they are not surrounded by adequate pieces. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, generational talents, but you're wasting away their prime right now.
and frankly, I think more than worrying about Edmonton as a 2 seed, I think I'd be more scared than Edmonton getting a 4 seed. Because if there's one team, yes, I think Winnipeg and Calgary are bigger threats. But I think if you're playing a 7-game playoff series, Edmonton might be the most terrifying. with just McDavid, Draisaitl, and a hot Mike Smith.
Well, that's just a high-flying matchup. That's just speed skating both ways. So that'd be a interesting matchup. It's
And
not
if
the
Mike
ideal
Smith
one.
if Mike Smith comes in hot, that's a goalie that could steal a series, hands down, no questions asked. You talk about the Leafs being snake bitten at times and beaten by better goalies. Mike Smith is someone, if he's playing at his A game, he's fully capable of doing that. But as far as the regular season, I'm not sure Edmonton's that much to worry about. Just hope they don't get a first round matchup with the Leafs. Because I don't think Edmonton makes it through anyone else in the division.
Yeah, I mean, they do match up with this better than they match up with a lot of teams, just because it's so high flying and anything's possible in those kind of games. But obviously, that's not the team I'd want to face. But I think there's a legitimate possibility that we do face them. So I'd like to see us be more dominant in our next couple of games against them.
The,
We
the,
have three
thing,
consecutive games against them coming up.
the thing that worries me about Edmonton is I think that series goes 7. And I think that would put the Leafs in an unfavorable position even if they won. Because they would be very tired and history and everything else. Having to contain McDavid for a full 7-game series, their defense would be so gassed by the next round.
Yeah, you're right. You're spot on with that. Hashtag. So this is okay. There's two things I want to touch on here. Leafs Forever says Leafs get out hit every game. That will not fly in the playoffs. Too soft. While I would agree with you in years past, this year I don't necessarily think that that's as big of a problem. We have Wayne Simmons on our team now, if he can get healthy, and that's an addition. That's a valuable addition to have in the hits category. And the Toronto Maple Leafs are so high flying; they can get by a lot of hits. I mean, they get out hit every game. It's something we've come to expect. It's not their style of play.
Yeah, it's when's the last time the Leafs were a physical team?
Yeah, yeah, like Doug Gilmour, Wendell Clark.
Yeah, it's I'm not sure we've seen a physical Leafs team in a while, and obviously we don't want it to be quite like some of the games. What was the game? Was it Montreal that out hit us by like 40 hits at one point?
46-9 or 46-16. So they out hit us by
Okay.
40.
Yeah, you don't want to see that, but I mean, if the Leafs are getting out hit by 10 hits a game, I don't think it's as worrisome.
It would be so fun to see a Toronto Montreal playoff series, but I think I'd rather see Edmonton than Montreal in the playoffs because
As a
Montreal.
Leafs fan and you trust
Yep.
that you can win, you would rather
Yep.
face Edmonton.
Yeah. Because of how physical Montreal is, they will wear you down. Out hit 46-16, and in the playoffs, their hits numbers are going to go up. I'd rather take Edmonton on in the playoffs than Montreal.
That literally sounds like a Brady Tkachuk game. It's too bad he isn't on the Montreal Canadiens because he'd fit right in there with 12 hits a game from one player.
There's another question about trades. Baseball 27. Do you think the Leafs will really make a big trade? RIbb.
Give me a sec. Define big.
You bring in a top 6 forward, a top 4 defenseman.
No.
No?
I think the only way that happens is you see someone come out of Nashville. Whether it's Dante Fabro or Philip Forsberg, those are the only two I could see them making a move for. And funny enough, both comes out of Nashville. Because I think that's one of the few teams that's motivated to move on from top end talent. But if I had to pick, are they likely to do it? Are they actually going to pull the trigger and not just be speculation? I don't think they will. I do not think Dubas, first and foremost, is willing to move the young pieces that will be necessary. And I don't think they want to part with a young piece in a second rounder or a first rounder and a depth player. I don't see them wanting to make that trade because, and maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, and the tattoo I obligated to go for hopes I'm wrong as well. I'm not sure if the front office believes in this team to go all the way the same way the fan base does.
My answer for this is I would like to make a splash move to add a player like Philip Forsberg. I would like to, and I'm having a really tough time answering this question because I also think that Kyle Dubas is going to take the fact that this is 1 year contract for players like Joe Thornton, Wayne Simmons. All these veteran players are on 1 year contracts and they want to win now. And Dubas made a pitch to them that, hey, let's come here and build something special. Let's win here. I think that they should go after a guy like Philip Forsberg, but I'm not necessarily sure that they will.
And I think the problem when you're looking at an American market is we're already in a shortened season. We're 18 games, 19 games through now, out of 56 in total. And any player coming over, it's 2-week quarantine, which means that's another 6 games out. And isn't Forsberg I think he's on an expiring contract. I could be wrong.
No, his contract expires after next season. So that's also another thing that
Okay.
plays a factor in that.
That's the only slightly difference because I was going to say if he's on an expiring contract, there's no way they make that trade for 20 games.
Dubas doesn't like bringing in players that are considered a rental, and with that, you'd have more flexibility to bring and extend Philip Forsberg in Toronto.
I don't think they could afford to extend him though. I really don't.
Couple years down the road, potentially.
Because if you want to keep your core four and still have a really solid starting goaltender, can you afford to extend him? It might just be a 1.5 year rental.
Very well could be, but I think that 1.5 year rental would push this team over the top.
And I have to agree with Old School here. That's why I've been so high on Dante Fabro as the choice rather than Forsberg. I really think we need more defense and not offense. I do not think the offense is the issue. I think they need more defense. And I think a right shot defenseman like Fabro is that piece of the defense they really need. The Leafs do not have what? They have Bogosian and Bogosian and Hall, right? That's the only righties?
Bogosian, Hall are righties. And we have Timothy Liljegren and the Marlies right now. But
yeah, you need someone else because neither of those guys are like Hall is a fringe top 4 guy the way he's been playing, and Bogosian should not be in your top 4. You need a top 4 right shot defenseman, in my opinion, more than you need another forward.
That's fair. I personally think that a player like Philip Forsberg will push you over the top right now. And I would go for a forward before the defense. I believe in this defensive unit right now. I really do. Especially if you add another weapon offensively.
You know who I'd actually love to see? I'm not sure if this is my just pipe dream. And I'm not sure if they would ever trade him here or how the cap considerations work out. But you know who would actually be a really, really good fit on this Leafs team and you'd avoid the quarantine period altogether?
Who?
And he's been playing remarkable. Jeff Petrie.
He's nice. Nice.
Like if I'm moving a big piece to make a playoff run, that's what I'm looking at. Something like that. And yeah, Brody was supposed to be that. Leafs forever. You're spot on. Brody was supposed to be that, minus the right-handed puck. But I'm not sure if he fits. Barry was supposed to be that. Brody was supposed to be that. But I think somewhere in this picture, we missed the fact that we need them to be more defensive than offensive.
Well, yeah. I think that there's answers inside of this lineup. I think that the duo of Morgan Rielly and TJ Brody have definitely looked a lot. They've been much improved since they were the first 10 games of the season because it was a mess. And still at times you're scratching your head saying, what are they doing? They're both trending up on the rush. No one's back. But I think there's answers inside of this lineup. If you were to pair Jake Muzzin with Morgan Rielly and TJ Brody with Justin Hall.
I think that's really funny that you mentioned that. Because I remember about a month ago, I recommended those exact 2 pairings.
I've recommended it.
And you were, I'm not moving nothing from Hall. I'm not moving
Not right now. Not right now is what I said. I have said on multiple occasions, you can play this thing back. I have said it multiple times that the option is there. The option remains there. You can move them as you please.
And frankly, I would love someone because I'm not going to go back and watch the full thing to prove this point, but I'm almost dead certain that give or take a week ago, I mentioned Philip Forsberg to Toronto, and you and Clarky both sat over here. There's no way. There's no possibility. That's never going to happen. And now look where we are. You've made a video on it, and we're talking about it in a full-length discussion.
So, anyways, William Nylander stole a win. William Nylander stole a win. And RIbb, William Nylander steals the win. So, for all the critics out there, shh. He was outstanding tonight.
And for all the trade offers out there, shh, the Leafs are fine.
Yeah, there's no need to trade Nylander, and there's no need for your fantasy team name to be Trade Nylander. So, on that note, we've been on here for an hour, 16 minutes now. RIbb, I'll give you the chance to close out the show.
As always, glad I could come on. Obviously, this post game turned more into a general hockey discussion than post game, but I'm glad we had the viewer engagement throughout the whole thing. You guys obviously seem to really enjoy it. If you do like when we cover like hockey as a whole, where the Maple Leafs focus more than just post game and pre game, please let us know, and we can do some more of this in the future. Make sure to check out the Maple Leafs Media Store. Jake has been working hard with his girlfriend to come up with some great ideas and really launch the store from the ground up. So come out and support. And again, stay safe, keep calm and belief. And thanks for having me on, and thanks for coming out, guys. It's a pleasure as always.
Yes, thank you, RIbb, for coming on. And RIbb, you said that there is a Maple Leafs Media online shop. And if you haven't checked it out already and you're interested, the link is in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube. There's tons of apparel there, and there's mugs. There's a lot of great stuff, and there's only going to be more designs coming out as the season progresses. So this right here, my slogan, keep calm and be Leaf. There's a minute left when William Nylander scored, and we all had to keep calm and be Leaf.
And I hate to say it, I'm going to throw myself right under the bus here. I think the people would buy a RIbb tattoo t-shirt.
Oh, potentially. Y'all let us know.
You know what? I will make you the deal here. If we get pre-orders and we get people to put their money where their mouth is, we will make sure a RIbb tattoo, #RIbb tattoo shirt gets made.
Maybe it should be a picture of you getting the tattoo on the shirt.
Oh my, we're not going that far yet. Let's start with the slogan. Let's see if people even want it.
This right here is the St. Patty's Day edition, Keep Calm and Be Leaf t-shirt. We got the Wayne Train, if you're excited for his return. A lot of stuff out there. There's the Canada team stuff, lots of merchandise. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok now. I'm loving this TikTok thing. It's all the links to that is in the description below. And the Maple Leafs Media shop was activated today, and the link to that is also in the description below. So this has been the post-game show with your guy RIbb and your guy Jake. You can also follow me on Instagram at Varco12. So thank you for watching this post-game show. It's been a magnificent show. It's been a great night. And one more time, for all the William Nylander critics, shh.